Today we're going to be talking about one of the least popular money topics, and that is filing your taxes. Now I have my lovely fiance Taylor with me, and we are going to be filing her tax return step by step using Cash App. That way you can do it completely free and right from your phone. So if you appreciate that,
drop a like.
Drop a like on this video. Now, Taylor, you're a freelancer, and so you've set aside some money for your taxes. How much have you set aside, and do you think you have enough money set aside?
Well, I set aside around $5,000, and I really hope it is, because last year it was not close to the amount I needed. So I needed your help a little bit.
And if you have extra money, what's your plan?
Probably go to the mall and spend it.
Okay. And what if you don't have enough money? What's your plan this year?
You.
Well, I guess stick around to the end to find out if she has enough money, and let's dive into your tax return. Alrighty guys, so the first step is going to be clicking the top link in the description below or visiting ryanoscribner.com/Cash App. This is my affiliate link, and it's a way for you to support me for putting this video together at no additional cost to you. Now we're going to assume that you already have a Cash App account, but if you don't, go ahead and pause this video and watch my video in the corner on Cash App for beginners. I'll be showing you exactly how to get started with creating a Cash App account, and I'm also going to link that up down in the description below. So guys, once you go ahead and open up a Cash App account, you're going to navigate over to the taxes section of the app. You're going to do that by clicking at the bottom left here, and then you're going to scroll down to Explore, and then you're going to click here where it says Taxes. Now, when you click on that, it's going to give you information about filing a tax return on Cash App. But as far as why people are doing this and why we're using it as the method for this video, first of all, it's completely free, so that's a huge benefit. And it's also extremely easy. I'm going to show you in this video how we're going to be doing all of this right from a phone. And in years prior, it's been really difficult to do a tax return right from your smartphone. So that's a few reasons why we're using Cash App here for this example. There's also other helpful tools in here, such as estimating your refund amount and tax planning tips if you want to get started with things like that. But for now, what we're going to do is click on the File for Free button right here in the middle, and then we're going to click on the Continue button at the bottom. The first thing it's going to have us do here is verify a two-factor authentication code. So we're going to go ahead and click on verify, and then we now have to create a password. Now this is going to be a separate password than your Cash App account, and this is specific for Cash App taxes. And the reason they do this is because at any point in time, if you want to switch over to your computer to access different documents or whatever it may be, you can switch at any time, and you're going to use this Cash App password to access this tax return from your desktop computer, for example. So go ahead and create a password and then click on Continue. Once you enter your password, it's going to ask you some questions related to your tax return. The first one here is, are you filing jointly with a spouse? So in this case, this is going to be a single filing. I'm going to say no, but if you are married filing jointly, you're going to click on yes. It's then going to ask us here whether or not you have any dependents. Now, a dependent is somebody who relies on someone else for financial support. For example, children are dependents of their parents because they depend on them for money, food, and shelter. In terms of taxes, a dependent is usually someone you take care of and can claim to get certain benefits or deductions. So the main question here is, do you have children that are living with you? So in this case, it's going to be a no, but if you do, you're going to click on yes. And then it's going to ask if any of the following apply to you. Have you worked and lived in different states? Did you work in multiple states? And did you have any foreign income over 600? In this case, that's going to be a no, but you would click yes if it was. Now we're going to click on Continue once again. And now it's going to ask us, how did you make money in 2024? And you're just going to check the boxes that apply. So in Taylor's case here, all of her income is independent contractor work or self-employed, so we're going to check that. But if you are an employee and you received a W-2, you would check that box here. But in this case, we just need to check the one here for self-employment. As far as investments and interest, she has both of those. So if you earned any interest income on your high yield savings, or if you sold off any stocks or even cryptocurrencies, you're going to want to check those boxes. It's also going to ask about property. So if you sold a rental or personal property, you're going to check that box there. And then it's going to ask about other types of income, whether you had government payments, retirement income, or any other miscellaneous income. So we're going to leave all of that as is and click on Continue once again. And guys, real quick, if you've gotten any value out of this video so far, make sure you drop a like as well as subscribe and hit the bell for the algorithm. It's now going to ask us about personal expenses for 2024, so if you had any of these, you can check the box. Family expenses, charitable donations, tuition, moving expenses, homeowner expenses, etc., etc. In this case, none of these are going to apply, so we're just going to click on continue. And they're now going to ask you if either of these less common situations apply. Did you submit estimated tax payments? So if you did, you can check that box. So if you're a business owner who does this, that's an example where you would check that. And were you issued an identity protection PIN? Neither are the case, so we're going to click on continue. And this is where it tells us about how you can switch over to the computer at any time, so all you would have to do is log in with that separate Cash App Taxes password that we just created. So now we're going to continue the tax filing here, and we're going to begin entering the information from Taylor's various tax forms. Now, for those who aren't familiar, a tax form is a document used to report your income, expenses, and other financial details to the government. Several institutions are going to issue these tax forms for you. This is going to include your employer, banks, investment accounts, and even your mortgage company, for example. So a key aspect to having a good tax filing is just getting all of this information in one place beforehand. That way, once you start filing your taxes, you can just go right in a row, enter all the info, and it should take you about an hour. Whereas if you don't have this in front of you, it could take you multiple days. So just try to get all of your documents in front of you as a prerequisite here. Now, what I want to show you now is actually how to retrieve one of these tax forms. I went ahead and did this ahead of time for her, but in case you haven't done this already, this will give you a general idea. So here we are in her PayPal account, and what we're going to want to do is click on the person icon in the top right to bring up your profile, and then you are going to scroll down here and you're going to see a section labeled Statements and Taxes. You're going to want to look for the Documents or Statements Taxes section of the app, and that's going to show you tax documents. So if we actually click here on Tax Documents, it's going to show us the year 2024, and you can see here under the savings account, we have a 1099 INT. If we click on that, it's going to bring up the tax document, and you could actually zoom in on it here and see that the interest income here is $63.57. So this is a 1099 INT. This is an example of a tax form, and this is what we're going to be inputting here as we go through Cash App, or you'll be using whatever your tax preparing software is. Back on Cash App now, we're going to click on the Start button, and then we're going to click here on Continue, and now we are going to go ahead and enter this information about ourselves, and I'm going to be entering this on behalf of my fiance. At this point, it's going to auto-populate your address and phone number. If this information is correct, you can click Continue. If not, go ahead and change this. At this point, it's going to ask you for your social security number, your filing status, and whether or not you have any dependents, as well as your occupation, so go ahead and fill this out. At this point, it's going to ask you if any of the following apply to you here. You can go ahead and read through and check the boxes, and if that is the case, then you will click on the Continue button. If not, leave everything the way it is and click on Continue. At this point, we're done with the basic info and dependents. If you had a dependent at this point, you would add this in here, but in our case here, we don't, so we're going to click on Back to Tax Home. If we scroll down here below our basic info, the next thing it's going to ask about here is our income. Now, we don't have a W-2 to add, but if you did have a W-2 from your employer, you're going to click on Add W-2 and go through this process. But in this case, we don't have one, so instead, we're going to click on Independent Contractor Work or Self-Employed and click on Start, and we're going to begin inputting our tax forms. So we're going to go ahead and enter the form here, which is a 1099 NEC or non-employee compensation. If you have any other forms like 1099K or 1099 MIS, this is also going to fall under this category, but we're going to click on the Get Started button, and now it's going to ask you what kind of work is this. In this case, it's actually going to be content creation, so we're going to check that box, and then we're going to click on Continue. And then we're going to click here on Looks Good based on this IRS category for the work classification. It then asks if you have a registered business name for this type of work. So if you do have your own DBA or LLC, you can say yes. In this case, we're going to say no and click on Continue. And then you can enter your nickname here to describe this type of work. We're going to call this freelance editing. And then we're going to click here on Continue. And now it's going to ask you for some basic info about freelance editing. First, it asks if you have an employer identification number for this business. That's going to be no. And it also asks, do you have a business address that's different from your home address? That's also going to be no, but you can enter yes here if you do have an EIN for your business, for example, or a separate address. We're going to click on continue. At this point, you can share more details about this freelance position here. We're going to leave this the way it's normally filled out, as it tells you the most common examples here, but you can go through this and make sure all of that is correct, and then click on continue. And then at this point, we can add some income here under this freelance particular self-employment income. So we're going to click here under income and select add. And now we're going to add this particular 1099 NEC. There's a couple different ones we have to add here. I'm going to do one with you together, and then I'm going to import all of them off screen and continue the return. So the first thing we're going to have to do here is enter the federal ID or TIN shown on the form. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in from what I'm looking at on screen. At this point, you have to enter the payer's name, and then you enter the payer's address. And once you've entered all of that information, you're going to click here on continue, and then you're going to enter the information. Now, the cool thing is it's going to tell you exactly which box to look for. So you have to enter the details here from box 1. In this case, that's going to be 28,586. And then you're going to enter box 4 if there is any withholdings. In this case, it's going to be a 0. After that, you're going to click on the continue button at the bottom, and then you can add another 1099 NEC at this point in time. Okay guys, so we went ahead and added all of Taylor's self-employment income, but now we are adding investment income, and I wanted to show you guys how to do this. So if you made any money through investing in the stock market, through apps like Robinhood, for example, or even any cryptocurrency transactions through apps like Coinbase, that's going to apply to you here. So what you're going to want to do from here is scroll down here to your income, and you can see where we have filled out now this independent contractor work. It now shows 33,226, and I will say she does already owe 6,000, so she's not going to be thrilled about that. So please drop a like here for my sanity after I have to reveal this information to her later, and stick around because you might want to see the reaction. Anywho, moving on now to investments. And then within this section, we have 1099B. This is most likely the form you're going to receive from Robinhood, or where you're going to log cryptocurrency transactions. You can see 1099B is for the sale of stocks, mutual funds, bonds, or digital currencies. But you may also have dividend income 1099, 1099 DIV. You may also have other capital loss carryover, for example, if you have losses from a prior year. So those are less common. They don't apply here. We're going to click on edit/review under 1099B. Now I already added 2 sales here from her public.com account, but what we're going to do now is add the Robinhood account information, because she has both a long-term and a short-term sale. So this can get a little bit confusing. That's why I wanted to show you on camera, but we're going to add all of these sales together here for your different accounts. So if you have multiple 1099Bs, they're all going to go in the same place here, and then they all get calculated together. So I added the public.com ones, but now what I'm going to do is open up the 1099B from Robinhood, and I'll show you as much on screen here as possible. And what we're going to be notating here is actually a capital loss here on the sale of a cryptocurrency investment. So there are some capital gains we can see so far. For example, $64 in gains from this top sale and $84 from this bottom one, but this is actually going to offset that. So that's why you want to make sure you include all of these, because the losses can offset your short-term and long-term gains. So we're going to click here on add more sales, and what we're going to select here is a summarized entry. And for the description here, I'm just going to call this Robinhood, but you can type in whatever you want. So the first thing we have to enter here is the proceeds. So in this case, we can see from the form here, we're just going to go with the grand total. Now there was only one crypto sold, but if you have multiple, you might just choose to do the grand total, or you can log each one if you want by selecting different options prior. But we're just going to go with gross proceeds here. So the proceeds came in at $248.05. and it's going to round that for us. And now you enter your cost basis, which was $555.53. And then the sale category. Now, as far as the sale category, this does get a little bit confusing, because you can look here at the lettering and this should line up for you, but it might not line up exactly. In this case, it's calling this a box E, which is going to be a long-term basis not reported to the IRS. So we have here box E, long-term not covered. That's what we're going to select, and then we're going to click on continue. And now it recorded that Robinhood crypto loss, which is offsetting those gains here from the public.com account. And now we're going to go ahead and record the tax form for Coinbase. Now guys, the Coinbase tax form looks a little bit different. That's why I wanted to show you how to do this separately. And in this case, we're going to record each individual sale because she actually has 3 individual cryptocurrencies that were sold for a slight loss here. I think it was a total loss of about $49. But we'll show you how to do that here. Once again, you're going to click on add more sales, and we're going to do one sale at a time this time instead of doing the summarized entry. And I'm going to record all of these sales just to show you exactly how to do this. Under description, I'm just going to put the type of currency here. So AERO is the symbol. And then we have the date acquired, which is 12/10/2024. And then if you had various dates, you could check that box here if you want to, but this is thankfully all on one date. And then the date sold was not long thereafter, 12/18/2024. And the proceeds here was $205.89, with the cost being $250. As far as the sale category, in this particular case, it doesn't give us a box, but since this is a short term, I'm going to go with box A, short term covered, but obviously make your own decision about what you choose here. And again, this is not any kind of tax advice. I'm not a tax advisor. Make sure you consult with a professional for your specific situation. We're going to click on continue now. And that added this individual sale here for Aerodrome within Coinbase. We're now going to do it for XRP and the other sale here that has to be recorded, but I'm not going to show you all of that here just to save some time. So just like that, I added the 2 sales here through Coinbase. If you had sales that resulted in gains, it would be showing a gain here, but in this case, it was 2 sales that resulted in a loss, and that can now offset any other investment gains that might be taking place here. But that's going to be it for her, so we're going to click here now on continue. And we have now filled out all of our investments, and this has resulted in aggregate here of a total of a loss of $209 for all investment activity as far as 1099B goes, which is going to be the sale of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and cryptocurrencies. Now, if you do have a 1099 DIV or anything else, you're going to enter that here. But in this case, we don't have those, so we're going to click on Back to Taxes Home. And now we're ready to continue on to your expenses. So now that we scroll down here past income, we can see the option here for your deductions and credits. So you have the qualified business income credit that is automatically populated here. And then you have the state taxes to fill out. So we're now going to click here on start. And this is going to be different depending on what state you live in. For us, this is going to be Florida with no state income tax, but you may have separate state income taxes owed and a separate state filing requirement if you live in a state like New York or California, for example. And if you lived or worked in more than one state, you can check that box, but we're just going to click on continue. And as you can see, Florida doesn't have state income tax, so there's no state filing, which is super helpful. So now we can review and file the federal. Now, one thing recommended here is to add business expenses that we haven't yet. So we're going to click on check this out. This is great that, for example, here with Cash App, you get these recommendations as you go. So under the freelance editing employment, which we can select, we're going to now add some expenses. And to do that, we're going to click on the 3 dots and click on edit, and then we have expenses and deductions. So now we're going to click on add, and these are going to be different items that apply. So if you had any personal driving that was required for your business or self-employment, you could add that. There's also going to be a home office option, any other business expenses, if you had to pay for health insurance depreciation, qualified business income, or anything like that. In Taylor's case, she doesn't have any expenses like that, as I capture a lot of these deductions through my tax return. So unfortunately, there's nothing to add here, but that's where you would add these various things. We're just going to click here on done, and then click on done once again, and then get back here to the main page. And then at the bottom, we can click here on review and file. Now, we don't have any business expenses, so we're going to click on review for errors, and we're just going to then click on fix it here. So based on that, it does mention here for this QBI deduction that this qualified for a 3227 qualified business income deduction. I'm not sure if that already factored in, so maybe that 6,000 number will come down. We'll see here. I'm going to click here on continue. and then we're going to now click on review for errors, and it says the federal return is good to go. Now there is one form that I am waiting on for Taylor from M1 Finance, so I can't put it right through the gate at this point, but I will bring you as far as I can here and show you what you would have to do to finish up. Now, when you're ready to actually file, you're going to go to this screen here where it's going to give you a summary, and unfortunately, there was no reduction here in the federal tax due. Now, like she said, she has $5,000 set aside, but you're going to want to make sure that when you're doing this yourself, especially if you're self-employed, that you're setting aside the correct amount of money, and you can make those estimated payments if you want to pay into this throughout the year. So the process here, which I won't be able to do right now, is going to be looking at the actual taxes due, an ID verification, and then going through with the payment of the taxes due and the filing. Now, I won't be able to continue here because I have to add that final tax form, but all of our progress is saved, and you can again switch between the phone and the computer if you have to add something at a later date. So that's how you're going to process your return, and honestly, I've done this many times now, and Cash App was the most user-friendly experience I've had. I'm even tempted to do a stab at my own tax return instead of using my tax preparer, but I might still use him just because mine is quite complicated. But I would definitely recommend it, and please consider using my affiliate link to support the channel if you do decide to use Cash App. There you have it, guys. That's going to wrap things up. If you found this video to be helpful, make sure you drop a like as well as subscribe and hit the bell for the algorithm, and make sure you share it with a friend who maybe hasn't filed their taxes yet or hasn't filed in a few years. This might help them with that. And at the end here, I will show you the outcome with Taylor when she does find out about her tax bill, so stay tuned for that here shortly. And if you are interested in watching that full Cash App tutorial, that's going to be linked up down in the description below. Okay, guys, so we are at the mall, and I have some unfortunate news for you. Your taxes owed was like $6,000 and maybe like 20-something dollars, so you're about $1,000 short.
So why would you bring me to the mall? Because you're going to pay for my shopping?
No, am I paying for your shopping or your tax bill?
Both?
No.
Yes.
No, but...
We'll see. I didn't get to tell him about my tax.
Yeah, because it doesn't... I know, that's why I was explaining this doesn't factor in at all. If you want to hold it for good luck, you can, but...